Welcome to Nineworks TV. Now here at Harris Classics I've been served up a delectable duo of Porsche 964s. One very stock and one very modified. We're going to sample both today and explore their stories as we enter the world of stock versus modified Porsche 964 Carreras. Now the backstory with 964s is well known. Once, unbelievably, the unloved child out of the 911 lineage, these days the Porsche 964 is probably actually one of the most sought after generations of 911. Rightfully, it really is seen in stock form as a bit of a sweet spot for 911s. It's the right blend or right level of modernism with power steering, ABS, but kind of no traction control, no other real driver age. You're still getting that quintessential classic 911 experience, albeit not something that's so agricultural as something like, say, a G-Series car. However, while they're awesome out the box, with a bit of tinkering, they're even better, aren't they? And that's why a lot of people do it. Now, I mean, this car, as we're going to explore in today's video, has had a lot of money thrown at it. Around about £210,000, all documented in the history. How do you like your 964s then? Stock or modified? Let's take a look at these cars in a bit more detail. Let's start with the stock and then see how this 3.8 litre, 6-speed, lightweight, fire breather of a 964 turns up the 911 wick. Wowzers, this is like stepping back in time being in here. I mentioned at the start of the video that this is a stock car. It's also extremely low mileage. The odometer is indicating 17,670 miles. That's it. Even the stitching round the wheel doesn't even show any real signs of wear, not anything significant. The pedals look pretty much untouched. The shifter as well, the lever without that shine that the shift knob usually gets after miles and miles of shifting gears. So it's a proper time warp car. The other thing is Ian at Harris Classics, who owns both of these cars, these are in his personal collection. I mean, this car is original paint. It is, I might add, covered absolutely tip to toe in PPF. So at least we've got a degree of protection there from the elements. But yeah, this car, to all intents and purposes, really is like stepping back in time to 1989, 1990. Incidentally, around the time I was introduced to planet Earth. And I have to say, I feel like this car's in better condition. So this is as damn near as you're going to get in the present day to a brand new 964. And it is so nice to drive. It's also, I might add, extremely refreshing to drive a 964 of any Carrera derivative really that has stayed true to the Design 90 alloy wheels, the 16-inch wheels, and the flag mirrors as well. Most people put on the Cup 1 or Cup 2 wheels. The Cup 2 wheels, of course, being 17-inch, the Cup 1s, which were 16-inch, and everybody replaced the flag mirrors for the teardrop mirrors. But I mean, look, to my mind, flag mirrors and Design 90s, that is quintessential Porsche 964. So how does it drive? That's what we want to know. The 964, for a quick recap, 3.6 litre naturally aspirated M64 coded flat 6, 5-speed G50 gearbox. It was G64 for the 4-wheel drives, allied to a curb weight of around 1,350 kilos for the C2. The flat 6 itself, I mean, yeah, it does feel torquey enough. Yeah, brisk but not rapid. The brakes are good. I mean, they're an absolute quantum leap over the 3.2 Carrera that preceded this car. Of course, we're in the realms of ABS and whatnot with the 964. How it rides is probably most interesting. It still has that classic 911 bob at the nose. A little bit floaty, generally speaking. As I say, this has the stock ride height. It kind of feels a little bit up in the clouds. Yeah, wonderfully compliant. Probably lacks a little bit of a cutting edge, I would say, but it rides over the bumps on these roads really nicely, it has to be said. The steering, I mean, it has a wonderful weight to it. It kind of doesn't twitch away in my palms quite like the older systems that, of course, didn't have the power steering. The other thing to point out is, and this is kind of what really shows its age, is you can really feel the transfer of weight in this car. This being, of course, on the 16-inch Design 90 wheels. It's also got like the balloon spec tyres. That's 55 profile tyres on the front, 50 on the rear. You can really feel that weight transfer going around a corner, rolling onto the outside of the tyre. But I mean, again, with that thick sidewall, it's probably what's doing a lot of the work in soaking up a lot of the lumps and bumps. But I mean, yeah, a wonderfully compliant car. And as I say, just an absolute privilege to drive what is a time warp car. That's the 964 in stock form. Let's see how modifications change the game. This feels like a motorsport car already, bit of an old school cup car. Oh, it's totally different. That's so funny. Just goes to show there's more than one way to skin a cat. You've got the absolute time warp car of the low mileage C2 in front, which really is just like the most perfect advert for a 964 and shows just how much of a big improvement that was over the 3.2 before it. But this car shows just what can be done with a bit of modern technology and a sprinkling of creativity. So a quick top level divulging of the facts or the spec on this beauty. 3.8 litre naturally aspirated still, flat six, putting out 337 horsepower. So I mean, that's a good, well, near on 90 horsepower improvement over stock, which again, for an atmospheric engine is absolutely superb, under 4 litres. The induction system has been taken straight off a late 993 generation 911, so that means we've got Vario RAM, quite a toppy engine. Put your foot down, watch the revs rise, and as that rev needle is climbing round the tacho, you just feel like you're still unlocking more and more of what certainly the engine has to offer. It's super responsive, feels peppy. That is mated to 6-speed, not 5, G50 gearbox taken again from a 993. Just in terms of initial feel on that, it seems that the ratios have been modified over stock. They seem slightly shorter than that on a 993. What a noise! What a noise! I want to get onto the suspension. I mean, this is just cornered a lot flatter through that bend. So this car is fitted with adaptive tractive suspension. I've heard a lot about this. It's the first time I've had a go with it. It's basically like modern day PASM, but for classic cars, and kind of brings that modernity to it. It's set up to be a bit more agile, a bit more dynamic. A lot of that body roll has now gone. It's a lot firmer. It's on different wheels, of course, over the stock car. Ian has had custom forged magnesium alloy wheels made for this, which, although they're 18 inches in diameter, they are still lighter than the 17-inch magnesium cup wheels from the factory. So super, super special. Housed within those wheels, we've got 964 turbo brakes, vented on the front, they're not on the back. Totally revamped. It's got to be a different braking system on this. I'm not actually sure what it is, but in terms of like, yeah, feedback through the middle pedal, that is sensational. The nose is definitely a lot sharper over the stock car as well. That feels a little bit floaty by comparison. So we've mentioned the chassis. Oh yeah, it's definitely stiffer. Oh yeah, let's come out of that. Back into 3, that seems nice. How clever is that in a 35-year-old car? Constantly measuring pitch and roll and yaw to provide the very best damping parameters. I mean, it's absolutely brilliant, really. Wow, look at that. You actually have to really concentrate with the drive because I mean, it's such a short wheelbase car, really, with a lot of power going through it. And where the nose is so pointy, you don't want it to be too pointy and overstep the mark. But, oh, I tell you what. Awesome. It's taken a little bit of getting used to that tractive system. just really because the car is behaving in a totally different way than what I am used to in a 911 of this vintage. But I mean, it is so clever. Lighter, faster, sharper, more direct, more adaptable, more focused. Granted, this car has had a hell of a lot of money chucked at it to get to this, but I mean, this video just highlights absolutely wonderfully just how different these cars can be. The big thing is, just to touch on it briefly, and I've mentioned this before in my videos, of course the Porsche 964 Rennsport is an unbelievable Porsche 911. Of that there is no doubt. But my argument, as I've said before on this channel, is it's possibly my least favourite Rennsport, because you can take a 964 C2 and create a car with modern technology that is better than it. Exhibit A. Where this absolutely crushes the RS is, despite that increased performance, it's so easy to drive. Fantastic bit of kit. It will never retail as much as an RS, despite the fact it's had £210,000 worth of modifications chucked at it. That is just modifications, by the way. The cost of the car was not included in that. So monetarily, that doesn't quite stack up. But I mean, an RS is possibly these days a different proposition to this. It is as much an investment piece as it is a fine driver's tool. Whereas this is just built for the sheer fun of driving that absolutely belies the fact that it is, well, 35 years old. Mind-blowing. I mean, again, just the way the car handles is unbelievable. It's not bumbly, it's not floaty, a bit like the original car in front. It's not crashy, and the wheels never leave the road at any given moment. But I mean, at times it feels like it's riding on carpet. It really is that good. I tell you what, in 1989, when the 964 was first revealed, then CEO Heinz Brunitzky declared the 964 as the 911 for the next 25 years, in reference to the fact that the impact bumper cars beforehand had lasted a good 15 years and were considered a little bit dated and archaic by that point. The 964 was allegedly 80% new, certainly from the axles up. And as I say, CEO Heinz Brunitzky said this is the 911 for the next 25 years. I tell you what, if those 964s were built like this, I think he might well have been right. There certainly wouldn't have been a need for a 993. And this is the absolute beauty, not really just of Porsche 964s, but of the world of 911s generally. For every person that prefers the originality of that car up front and perhaps chastises what has taken place with this car, for every one person that says that, there's another person sitting right next to him that goes, now that's a bit of me. It's pick your poison, but what both of these cars do highlight admirably is, in the case of the low mileage original car in front, just how fantastic and awesome that 964 is out of the box, and why it is rightly revered today as perhaps one of the best Porsche 911s. And then you get this car, which shows just what the platform is capable of, and that's without going anywhere near a backdate company. It's one man's vision, or one person's vision, of what the ultimate 964 should be. And I absolutely love that. So there we have it then. There is a pretty comprehensive look between stock and modified Porsche 964s. Of course, there's no right or wrong answer here. It's all about what you prefer when it comes to your Porsche 964 experience. For many, the stock 964 is kind of the sweet spot for the classic 911 without being overbearing on the driver. However, with a bit of ingenuity, not to mention some input from modern technology, you can have something that is absolutely outstanding and really kind of dynamically pushes the game on over stock, while being sympathetic, of course, to why the 964 is so popular in stock form in the first place. Thanks, of course, to Ian at Harris Classics for letting us get up close to both of these exquisite examples. I'm going to pop a link in the description to Ian's site so you can take a look at his Porsche 964 sales sourcing services. And that's about it. We'll catch you soon on OMX TV.